It's not accidental to make a comparison that the United States has the most religious society of any Western country and the least connection between state and religion. So I would say that if people are interested in the Jewish state being a place where varieties of Judaism can flourish, where the Jewish debate over what it means to be Jewish can flourish, the first step toward achieving that is disestablishing religion in the state of Israel.
You're talking about what I might describe, if I'm permitted, as a stranglehold, in a sense, of a small, narrow focus of what it means to be Jewish over life in Israel. Jafar, you're not Jewish. How does this situation impact on your life?
I am even Arab, believe it or not.
Even so?
Yes, I have identity, not only as non-Jewish. And you know, when I was listening to the introduction as non-Jew, you know, I'm Christian also. Don't tell anybody, because it's not important part of my life, and I don't implement my religion every day. I don't wake up and pray, and I keep asking myself when we will come to a situation that the Jews in this place will say we want to separate, we want secular state, or will say, let's meet with the Arabs that are looking for other way to live together. It's possible to do this separation, but this whole 3,000 years of dream to have a Jewish state is marginalizing actually the Palestinians, but it's marginalizing also Jews like Uri and people that don't want to be ultra-Orthodox or Orthodox. So the whole debate inside the Jewish population about what means to be Jew, I'm following that debate. It's very nice one, but it excludes us also from the character of the state, because when the majority of the Jews decide that the Shabbat and Yom Kippur is Yom Kippur, and we have as national minority and also becoming from different backgrounds, it's oppose the symbols of Jews on national minority, and I think it's something that needs to be dealt with, not only to identify the state as a democratic state, but also how you identify the state without putting the whole religion symbols on the state symbols. And this is something that we are still not in that part of the debate. We still debate, you know, which kind of Shabbat we will have. But if I want to choose Sunday, it's not part of the public scene here.
Naomi, with your legislative background especially, give us a little bit of history, a little bit. How did this situation develop? How did such inordinate power get put in the hands of a very religious minority in this country where most people are not very religious and many people aren't Jewish? They're Arabs, they're Muslims, Christians, Druze.
Let me start first of all and say Israel is or wants to be a full-fledged democracy. And there is no other democracy in the world that doesn't a priori establish that civil law is superior, is supreme over all other kinds of law. And that is precisely our problem. Now, how did we get into it? It dates back very simply to what's known as the status quo agreements. Some of them were originally defined before the creation of the state, but they were actually established with the creation of the state. And they deal with four major issues. Number one, with the capacity or the authority of religious courts to deal with all matters of personal law. And if you're asking me what all matters of personal law is, it's very simple. Birth, death, marriage, divorce, conversion. In other words, you cannot be a citizen of the state of Israel without meeting a religious authority, and in the case of Jews, a monopolistic rabbinical court, which is orthodox and has a very certain version of Israeli law. So that's number one. Sabbath and Jewish holidays are part of are the holidays of the state, and it essentially determines what days we rest. The third element of the status quo agreements deals with keeping kosher in public institutions, And the fourth element deals with a separate educational stream for the ultra-Orthodox. Now, let me just divide it in 2 sentences. I think it'll explain almost everything. The first 3 elements, personal law in the hands of rabbinical authorities and not in the hands of the state, Sabbath and kashrut, have to do with individual rights, with freedom of religion, and let me add, freedom from religious coercion. And the last one gives us a hint at another problem, and that is the large number of religious parties in Israel allows them to get special rights. One of them relates to educational institutions. The other is a non-obligation to go to the draft, etc., etc. And that's a real problem of equality. It's a different issue, but it's interesting.
What's very interesting about that, though, is that part of the power that you just described, the power that the religious parties have, comes from the very fact that Israel is a democracy. And it prompts the question, to what extent can religion and democracy really mix? And we're going to get into that in just a moment. First, I want to remind all of you viewers watching us on the web that you can add your questions to the pile that I already have ready here for our panelists, and we'll be giving you several opportunities to have those questions asked on the air as we continue. If you want to ask a question, you're just a click away from doing so on the website. You'll see a button that says something like Ask a Question. Press on it, send your question, we'll get it, we'll relay it. In the first segment of this town meeting, we have looked at the relationship, the basics of the relationship between religion and state in this country. Believe me, this situation is far more complex than what we've been able to describe because of limited time. But as I said a moment ago, we're basically asking the question, religion and democracy, do they mix? Is this whole idea of what Israel is trying to do an anachronism? Let's see what some Israelis on the streets think. Watch.
In Israel, you have a battle between the law and the religion.
There's a lot of freedom of religion here. There isn't religious freedom.
In Israel, no religious freedom.
Why not?
Because the Orthodox make what they want. They have the power. They have the power in the Knesset.
The religious people control the government because they have power, because they have money.
80% of the people are not religious. So why the religious people should decide how they have to get married, how they have to get divorced, how they have to convert? It's not democratic.
God says that you will have no other God before me. Okay, and what that means is that the Torah is the most important thing. God and the Torah is the most important thing, even more important than Western concepts, Greek concepts like democracy.
So, in practical terms, Israel's national character, as we said a moment ago, is Jewish. The holidays are Jewish. The Sabbath is the Jewish Sabbath. That's the day everybody has off. It's hard if you want to eat something with leavening in it to find it during Passover. Chametz is hard to find, though not as hard as it used to be. In fact, that raises a question we'll deal with in a minute. But the point is this. To what extent do those who want to call their own shots have a right to do so? To what extent is the attempt of the religious parties to maintain these laws and these sanctions a heartfelt attempt to maintain Jewish identity in Israel? Are they moving in the right direction, using the wrong tools to get there, or the opposite? Nomi Chazan, what do you think?
Look, religious parties you find all throughout Western Europe. There's nothing new. They're Christian parties, they're Catholic parties, etc. Religion and politics mix. Religion and state do not